stories told through the eyes of a traveler is a type of storytelling that whenever it kind of appears, it's really amazing. And it's unfortunate that it's kind of a very rare thing to actually see. We have, of course, Kino's Journey as one of the most popular ones in the recent past. Then you have other things like Mushishi, maybe Spice and Wolf would be in that category as well. Such one actually did appear in the fall 2020 anime season, that is Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elaina. And this is a quick review of that particular series, Japanese title Maho no Tabi Tabi. But yes, like I mentioned, the idea of a traveling storyteller is actually a really cool concept. And granted, it's not a foolproof idea. We just always kind of see these particular series pop up, and they always end up being really amazing. Like I mentioned before, Kino's Journey was a spectacular series. Comparison to Wandering Witch, it's more of a storytelling through just kind of experiencing each of these towns that Kino actually travels to and kind of making comments on them. Not so much, altering them or trying to push her perspective on those particular towns. She was typically a third person and never really there was a few cases where she did step in and that did dramatically change the environment that she was in. But particularly with Wandering Witch, it's unfortunate because when I first seen the promos and stuff for it, knowing nothing about it, I kind of figured it would just be, cute girls doing witchery, that kind of thing. I didn't really think it was going to be, through and through, pretty much Kino's Journey. And that's not to say it's a bad thing, because Kino's Journey is an amazing series, and getting more of Kino's Journey, even if it has to be through any other character, is perfectly fine with me. What I wasn't really expecting was that Wandering Witch gets... granted, I've not actually read Kino's Journey. I've only seen the anime adaptations, and the stories that they chose for the anime adaptations weren't always extremely dark. There was some dark ones, of course. In most cases, they were tragic. There was a lot of tragic stories in Kino's Journey. Whereas Wandering Witch, I would only say like maybe a handful, maybe 2, maybe 3 of the stories that they had throughout the entire adaptation were, fluffy or had fun endings or fun stories in them. Usually involving Saya being, with the main character, Elaina. But for those who don't know, Elaine, or the Journey of Elaina, basically follows Elaina, who is a girl who read a book about a traveling witch, got inspired, and then told her parents, hey, I want to grow up to be a witch, and I want to travel. So they, of course, support her, even though the father unwillingly does so, moping and eating his food all the time. She did end up becoming a witch, and she actually excelled. She was like one of the youngest witches ever to be, or one of the youngest girls to be a witch. And after she gets trained by an apprentice, she goes off on a journey. And then thus follows each episode, pretty much each episode. There was a few cases where it did kind of carry over to multiple episodes. She hits each of these different locations, and you get an idea of what those locations do and what's different about them, and then she goes to the next location. And that's, again, a very similar formula to what Kino's Journey was, whereas Kino's Journey is technically the adaptation. It kind of flips it where you don't really get to see her backstory until later, in the adaptation at least. This one kind of starts off with her kind of being born into being a traveler. But yes, it's a series that definitely caught me off guard, because like I said, I did come into it expecting it to be a cute girls doing magic or witchery. But yeah, there is a couple episodes like that, like I said, where she runs into Saya. It usually gets a little bit more comical, because Saya ends up becoming very fond of Elaina, and that ends up becoming a lot of the comedy. But for the most part, all these stories are very either serious or very dark. There was one episode where the episode starts with the content warning, and it's like, yeah, sure, we'll see. And then sure enough, it was extremely violent and very graphic. So keep that in mind coming into it. There's an episode or 2 that gets extremely dark, and some might not be able to stomach it. But for the most part, it's a very kind of magical journey as she kind of travels from location to location. And like I said, it actually did surprise me significantly coming into it, and being, my expectations not technically being high, being very surprised by what I end up seeing. So There is some kind of backstory stuff they get into eventually, getting into the story of the author of the book that she was inspired by, and that was kind of obvious, I guess. But I guess it doesn't technically harm the series. It's not. It's kind of one of those. Yeah, I kind of see that coming, but it's not like it's going, oh, look, were you surprised? It just kind of reveals it and moves on. So, and it was really cute to see the backstory of the author and see how everything kind of ties together in the end was fantastic as well. But yeah, it's I guess the only thing that was kind of a little bit of a hamper is that Elaina does kind of get a little her being in love with herself does get a little bit old, but it never, again, never harms it. It's usually done in play for the most part. It's just kind of like somebody says, "Oh, hey, it's a cute girl," and she turns around and says, "Oh yeah, I am cute, aren't I?" She's very confident in herself, which is kind of funny because the story itself starts off with when she does find somebody to be apprentice under. It does technically try to drive the idea that she should be learning a lesson from it, surrounding that concept of being full of herself, but it doesn't actually change her at all. So I guess that's true to nature. I mean, we do run into lessons that doesn't always necessarily make us change ourselves completely. So, but yes, Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elaina was definitely a gem. If you liked something like Kino's Journey, definitely check out this particular series. It is fantastic. The C2C, the studio that worked on it, did a fantastic job as well. It looked very beautiful, especially the opening. It looks very gorgeous. The characters are very likable. They're, again, very... I wouldn't say that the stories that this particular series kind of told are as thought-provoking as something that Kino's Journey was able to do, but they're still kind of stories that end up having they're intriguing. There's something that you want to kind of unfold as she unfolds it, if that's the best way that I can kind of put it. Like I said, not extremely thought-provoking, but intriguing in the end. So, yeah, definitely if you liked Kino's Journey, if you like stuff like Mushishi, even the traveling aspects of Spice and Wolf, definitely check out Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elaina. I think you'll be very much surprised by it. Don't let the cute girls doing cute things aesthetic kind of shy you away if that's something you don't look forward to, because it is definitely a lot more serious than I gave it credit for. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed watching this quick review of Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elaina, and we thank you all for watching.